Odenu. Midaber. Imam. We Rothschild. Ba'a. Im. Hatzon. Ashi. Asher, that is. Li Aviha. Ki. Ruach. He. He's still speaking with them, and Rachel, she came. Now, we got Jacob at the well at Haran, remember? And he's there, and there's a great big rock over the mouth of the well, the face of the well, so to speak. And he's talking to these shepherds. And now Rachel comes up. Rachel. What does Rachel mean? Rachel. What does her name mean? What does Rachel's name mean? Anybody remember? Huh? A ewe lamb. That's what her name is. A little female ewe lamb. They're cute, aren't they, Marilyn? Tell me about a little female ewe lamb. Huh? Yes. A little ewe lamb. See there? I wasn't lying to you there. There it is. 932. Page 932. A little female ewe lamb. Beautiful. All right, beautiful girl, Rachel. And she had come with the sheep. Now, these sheep here, these Hatzon, these are sheep and goats, by the way. Sheep and goats. These are small domestic cattle. These cattle here, they're cattle. But, and what is a cattle, by the way? What is cattle? Animals that go in a herd. All right? And they're sheep and goats. All right? Now, there's sheep and goats that some goats you have to shear. Some goats you don't. But some goats have wool just like sheep. But all of these are small domestic animals. And what's the difference between a small sown and a boker? Real loud now? A boker you can hook a plow up to. Now, Brother Euless, remember a long time ago, you're right up there my age, but a long time ago, people used to come around and they'd have a goat hooked up to a cart. And they would take pictures, they would get and have pictures, you know, they'd get kids out there and they'd have this goat with the horns and the shaggy looking goat, and they had a little cart behind it, and a photographer would come and take pictures. And then sometimes there was the ice cream man that would be ringing a bell and going down the streets, and they'd have a little goat pulling a cart. And these, you know, the goats can pull, but they cannot break the ground with a plow. They can pull a cart, but a boker, a big cow, can break the ground with a plow. They can cut sod or whatever. But the sheep and the goats, I don't think very many people ever used sheep to pull anything, because sheep are so timid. But a goat is not timid by any means. Anyway, back in those days, they would use goats to pull carts around. Betty or Doris, do you remember when they used to come out with the little Shetland ponies and the little goat carts and things? These were the real goat carts. All right, the little carts with the goats pulling. And then they have even the male, the ice people. I remember when they were still had ice men when they'd go down the streets. And Brother Euless, you remember the ice men when they usually have a wagon with a couple of horses pulling it, loaded up with ice in the back, and you could buy 50 pounds or 25 pounds of ice, and they'd get their ice tongs and bring it into your house and put it in the ice box for you. What? Big blocks of ice, yeah, 25 and 50 and sometimes even 100-pound blocks of ice. All right. Because a shepherdess, all right, the sheep now, which to her father, all right, she was a shepherdess to her father. She was a shepherdess. And what does the word roah there mean? Shepherding one. Feminine, singular, cal participle. Look at that. Roah. Roah. That's a very beautiful word. When Hagar when Abraham made Hagar leave, and she took her boy Ishmael, and they were sitting out there ready to die, and what happened? Remember? Jehovah Roeh appeared to her, the Lord her shepherd appeared to her and watched over her, and a well began running out of the ground, a spring, all right, a be'er began to run out of the ground. And she said, that is my Jehovah Roeh, the Jehovah my shepherd. And then Psalm 23 we have, the Lord is my Roeh, my shepherd. And John the 10th chapter, Jesus said, I am the good Roeh. I am the good Roeh. All right, the good Roeh. The shepherdess, she. All right, now let's go back, or let's go to 10. You don't have any problem with this, I do. Wahi, Ka'asher, Roah. Look at that word Roah there now. This is the different way it's used. Yaakov. By the way, that's my name. Did you know that? In Hebrew, that's my name. Jacob. Yaakov. All right. Et, Rachel. Bat, Laban, Akti, Emo, Wiet, Son, Laban, Aki, Emo, Wayigash, Yaakov, Wayagel, Et, Ha'ivan, Mial, P, Haber, Wayachik, Et, Son, Lavan, Aki, Imo. Yes. No, I don't. I don't have one. Okay. All right. Wahi. And it became. And it became. What is the word good in Hebrew? What is the word good in Hebrew? Tov. What is the word good in Greek? Spiritual good. Spiritual good. Agathos. Good. Kalos. All right. All right. There's two different ways. Greek is a tremendous language. Spiritual good is agathos. Just remember agape, kind of like agathos. Okay. And then good, just real good, is kalos. And they have a whole lot of words for bad too. What's the worst word for bad in Greek? It's ra in Hebrew. That's evil. In Greek, the worst word for... Huh? Porneia. All right. And there's kakos. That's Adamic bad. All right. And all kinds of words for evil in Greek. All right. It's ra in Hebrew. Let's go on here a little bit. And when he saw, and it became when he saw Jacob. All right. He saw. Now look at that word roah. See, that means to watch after. The shepherd watches after the sheep. The good shepherd watches after his sheep. Jehovah, the Lord is my shepherd. He watches after me. All right, and he tells, in Psalm 23, it tells you all about it. And he had seen Jacob, et Rachel. And guess what? Love at first bite. He loved her. All right. Love. He fell in love with this girl. The daughter, Bet of Laban. What does Laban mean? White. All right. White or whitey. People used to be called whitey. All right. Laban. And then it says Achi, brother of Imo, mother. Im is the word for mother there. Immo, Wagigosh. And he came near. Third person masculine singular, cal, while consecutive, imperfect. And he kept on coming near Jacob. All right. And he rolled. Jacob rolled this great big rock. This great big ha'evan, the big gigantic stone by himself with no help. This man was not a little wimp like most people paint Jacob. He was a very strong man. He was a strong man because he moved this rock that it usually takes 3 or 4 men to move. Jacob moved it by himself. The stone from upon me all, the face of the Haber. And what does the word Be'er mean? The root of that, what does that word mean? It means to flow. It means the water. It means flowing water. Page 91 in the Brown, Driver, and Briggs. Wayishik. All right? And he caused to drink the sheep of Laban, brother of his mother. All right? He caused to drink the sheep of Laban, or what are those things? The sheep and the goats. The sheep and the goats. 29 and verse 11 now. 29 and verse 11. Wayishik. Look at that word, Wayishik, there for just a minute. Think about that, the root of that word, Wayishik. Yaakov, Li Rachel, Yayisha, Et, Golah, Yavek, and kept on kissing Jacob to Rachel. He held on to her, and he kissed, and he kissed, and he kissed her. Now remember what I told you about this word, Yitzchak? Who was named Yitzchak in the Bible? Huh? Who was named Yitzchak? Isaac. That's Isaac's name right there. What does his name mean? What? It means laughter, but what else does it mean? Pleasure. I told you that sexual intimacy is this word right here. It means kissing. It means the excitement of kissing. It means great pleasure and enjoyment is what it means. That's what the word yitzchak means. All right, and we looked at this when we saw that Ishmael did this word to Isaac. Remember what happened? He could have molested him because this word can mean that, this root. And maybe that's why everything, all of it just blew up right at that moment. And Sarah said, get him out of here and get her out of here. Be gone with him. All right? Anyway, this is the word. Yitzchak. And he kissed and kept on kissing Jacob to Rachel. He held on to her and he kissed her and he kissed her and lifted up and kept on lifting up his voice, and he kept on weeping, crying out. He was absolutely thrilled. Now, what is the background of his thrill? Kissing this pretty girl? Why is he so thrilled? What's thrilling him so much?
Somebody once said that she reminded him of his mother.
Possibly. Yeah, they probably were. There was a family trait. Look, he could tell that this was. But what really turned him on here, so to speak? What really made him excited to the point of weeping and holding on to this girl and kissing and kissing and kissing her? It was maybe he could see the family resemblance, all right. But what was it? His father told him not to marry anybody there, and then Jehovah appeared to Jacob. Remember that? Jehovah appeared to Jacob, and he saw Jacob's ladder and all of this. Remember that? When he laid his head on the stone, which we call this, in England they call the stone of scone. All right, whether that's the stone or not, okay. But he laid his head on that, and he saw this Jacob's ladder, and he promised to tithe to God, didn't he? He said, "If you watch after me, Roah, if you watch after me, if you be my shepherd, I will tithe." And then Jehovah instilled in Jacob that he was the promised son. He would be the one that would carry on the Abrahamic promise. So when he comes to this well, he wanders over there. There aren't any road signs like there are here today. This is Phoenix and that's Los Angeles or anything like that. He's wandering out across here just trying to find his way. There are what we call guest houses along the way. You know, every 5 or 10, 15 miles or so, there was a gated, back at this period of time, you know, when they traveled, they would come to a little, what they call a rest area. Here's the road going by the rest area. And in the rest area was a gated community. And they would stop a gate up at nighttime, and you could go in here, you could sit in here, and they had rooms around here. And this was a safe place to stay. So Jacob had been going along, he'd been going along, but when he finally gets to this place, now, you know, Mary and Joseph stayed in these places. When they got over there to Bethlehem, there wasn't any place to stay in the rest area. They had to go out in a cave in the hills, a cheap motel. All right, that was not safe. It wasn't secure. Now he comes here and he realizes when he sees this girl that this is my family. This is my mama's family. There she is, and he sees her, and he knows that God has answered his prayers. So he's absolutely delighted to see his first cousin. And he grabs a hold of her, and he just keeps on kissing her, and I think he falls in love right there, because he loves this woman. This is her. He knows that God has answered his prayer. But there's all kinds of obstacles in his way, isn't there? Jacob is a man of many obstacles. His life is a life of total, absolute disasters, one right after the other. But one thing about his life, he knows that God is watching after him. And here, why he's crying and weeping is, God, you have answered my prayers. Here I am. I'm here in the right place, and the first thing I do is come upon this well, and here is my cousin, and this is going to be my wife. Now, this girl is pretty young. We know that she's a pretty young girl. And how old's Jacob about here? About how old is he? Huh? About 40 years old. And she may be 10, 12 years old. She's pretty young. Okay? We know that, what was his mother's name? Rebecca. Many of the rabbis say that when Rebecca was espoused to Isaac, when he sent Eliezer to go pick her up, some of the rabbis say she was 3 years old. Now, we think that she wasn't 3 years old. Maybe she was 9 or 10. Okay? Because a lot of times they would marry very young back that time. Smith Paul, my great-great-great-grandfather, the last wife he took, he was 66 years old and the girl was 14. And they had 6 kids. Did you know that, Doris? He was 66 and she was 14. And that was in 1874, I think. All right. This was not unusual back then. Now, however old she is, she's a young, beautiful girl, but she's young. Jacob's 40 years old, and she's very young. Now, how long does he wait to marry her? Huh? No. How long does he? 7 years. He did marry. He married Leah. But then he married her 1 week later. All right, just 1 week later. Okay. But so if she's 12 or 11 or whatever years old right here, when he finally marries her, she's about 19 or 20 when he finally takes her as a wife. And he's how old? 47 years old. All right. And Jacob kept on kissing Rachel, and he lifted up his voice, and he kept on weeping. Look at that word, third person masculine singular cal, while consecutive, imperfect tense. Kept on weeping. He was so happy. 29:12. Why, Yaget. Yaakov. What does Jacob mean? What does that name Yaakov mean? What? That's Yehuda. All right. What's this name mean? Sharon, do you remember this name? It means to follow the heel. Follow the heel. To nip. Like a cow dog nips the heels of the cattle. And to nip and to follow the heel. All right. Yaakov le Rachel ki achi aviha hu wihi ben Rivka Hugh, Watarots, Watageret, Wataged. I'll get it right in a minute. Lehaviha. That's it. And he told and kept on telling Jacob to Rachel that brother, Achi, brother. What's the word brother in Greek? What's the word brother in Greek also? You get a little Greek with your Hebrew, you know. It's very important. Brother Randall, you know it all. Adelphos. What's the word for sister? Adelphe. All right. What does the word brother in Greek mean? Adelphos or Adelphe. Brother or sister. What does it mean? Adelphe. Adelphe. The word womb is Delphi. That's womb. And brother means from the same womb. From the same womb. From the same womb. From the same womb. The Catholics say that Jesus' brothers were only, and his sisters were from, not from Mary, but from another wife of Joseph. You know, they try to make Mary the Immaculate Conception and the Eternal Virgin and all that kind of baloney. She had children. These were his Adelphes and Adelphe and Adelphos. They were from the same womb, which was Mary. That takes care of all that baloney, doesn't it? They were from the same womb, okay? So, and Rachel, that brother of her father, he, and that son of Rebekah. And now what does Rebekah mean? Rebekah. 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 What does Rebekah mean? Cindy, I know you remember that one. Rebekah.
Thinking something like captivating.
She was captivating. She was a beautiful woman. Rebekah was a beautiful woman. Her name means to lasso. To lasso. To halter someone. To tie. It comes from the word that means to tie the fatted calf in the stall. You put a halter on the fatted calf and tie him in the stall. You tie them in the stall. It means to lasso, to tie, or to halter. So when someone saw Rebekah, they were lassoed. They were lassoed. They were captivated. It means to capture. The American Indians used to ride ponies. By the way, there's two sources of horses in America, the Indians say. The ones the Spanish brought and the ones that they had. And they had an Appaloosa horse here that was the Appaloosas are very unusual horses. They go way back in breeding, and they are related to those ponies in Russia and China that have the striped or mottled hooves. And they're very hard to break, and they're very stubborn horses. And Appaloosa, they say, thrives on hard work and abuse. As they used to say. They're tough as a grizzly bear. All right? And the Indians say there were ponies here, but there were ponies there. But the Indians, when they would go out and catch ponies, they would go out and they would take a lasso, either on the end of a stick with a rope where they tighten it up, and they would ride up to a wild horse, and they would throw a rope over it, and a lot of times they throw a rope around his belly, this word halter, and they would get on that horse and ride it till it was tame. That's the way the Indians would ride it. And they would take that horse off by itself, and the Indian and the horse would live together in a teepee. And the horse would not see another horse for weeks and weeks and weeks. His only companion would be the brave that was taming him. And horses are herd animals, and they want affection from each other. And so when you take the horse away from everybody else, he turns all of his affection to his newfound friend. All right, his newfound friend. And that's the way they would tame them. They would lasso them and jump on that horse and ride that horse till he was tame. Rachel and Rebekah. All right, Rebekah. And he, Hugh, and she ran. And she kept on running. And she related to, and she told, rehearsed. Third person feminine singular, Hithael, while consecutive and perfect, to her father. And who was her father? Her Avi. What? Laban. All right. Now what is the etymology of the word father? There it is. Cindy, do you remember the etymology? Abba, yeah. Give me the etymology of it. The Hebrews and the Arabs say that a child, the first word it speaks is its name of its father, and a child will say Abba, 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 Abba. Okay? But beyond that, now that's what they say. That's tradition of the word Abba. But what does Abba mean? Where does it come from? What words is it made up? The first and second letter of the Hebrew alphabet. Thank you. Alpha means head. And the ancient symbol for the alpha was an ox's head. Okay? And then Beth. Beth. What does the second letter of the Hebrew alphabet mean? The house. The house. What does it mean? The head of the house. That's what Abba means. The head of the house. The head of the house. 29:13. Wahi. Kishma. Lavan. Het. Shema. Yaakov. Ben. Achito. Wayaratz. Lik Rato. Wahabek. Lo. Wanashek. Lo. Wavihu. El. Bito. Why Saper. Lavan. Het. Kal. Ha de Barim. Ha Ileh. That's a long verse. And became. Third person masculine singular, Kyle, while consecutive and perfect. And became and stayed that way. At hearing. Look at the word Kishma. What is the Jewish name for that comes from this word? What's the Jewish name that comes from the root of this word? What? Simeon. Simeon or Simon. Simeon or Simon. Simon Peter's name, Matt? Simon, one who hears. Simeon. Actually, the word Simon in the New Testament should actually be translated Simeon. Simeon. Okay? That's what the root of this word is, one who hears. At hearing Laban, old Whitey, et, the message or the report, the Shema, all right, the statement, the foundation. This is talking about the foundation of what happened. Jacob, one who follows the hill, Ben. Ben means what? Ben means what? According to a pattern. When you have a child, it's according to a pattern. Many times the child looks like the father or the mother. Okay? Of his sister, Achato. See that tau in there? There's where it's feminine right there. That tau tells you that's feminine. Not Achi, but Achito. Of his sister. And he ran. He kept on running. Boy, he was... Oh, Laban, now, I'm going to tell you something. This boy is something else. This boy was the original used car salesman. This was he was crooked as a barrel of snakes, as they used to say, or a dog's hind leg. Remember those terms? Or a crooked as a barrel full of haywire. He was. Laban was a character. He ran to meet him. Cal infinitive construct, suffix, third person masculine singular. He ran to meet him. See, that infinitive is to meet, and then him is the suffix third person masculine singular. And he intensely embraced. He kept on intensely embracing to him. Third person masculine singular, PLOL, consecutive imperfect. PL stem means what, Cindy? An intense emotion, intense whatever. PL stem is the one with great force. I mean, he ran and grabbed a hold of him and said, "Boy, what a sucker. What have I got a deal for you today?" Like you go out into some used car lot down in Los Angeles or Lancaster over there, and I mean to tell you, they'll tell you how beautiful your wife is, even if she looks like a mud fence. And all them mean little kids, how wonderfully well behaved they are. That's right. They'll tell you everything you want to hear because they want to sell you a car. Anyway, he comes out there and he latches onto this poor sucker. Jacob's troubles begin. And he embraced and kept on embracing to him. And he kept on intensely kissing him. Look at that word, Wayisnashik. There's the word, yetchik, in the root of this word. He kept on kissing him. And he kept on bringing him unto his bed, his house. And he... third person masculine singular, PL, wow, consecutive and perfect. And he related to Laban all the things. Ha-de-barim. What's the root of this word? What's the root of this word? What's the root of that ha-de-barim? The things. Page 180. What is this? I got an eraser today finally. It works too. Boy, that's the first time I've used it. All right. Let's look at this. Well, we're going to look at this just a little bit. What's the name of God in the Old Testament? That's it. But how do they refer to this? Ha, Shem, the name. The modern Jews call it Adonai, okay? And back then, how did they refer to him? As Ha-davar. Ha-davar. The Word. That unspeakable Word, okay? Word is a whole lot like this word in, Greek backwards. Right. Logos. All right. Logos. Navar and logos are basically the same words going from one language to the other. Navar means to line things up. A fence post, a line of fence posts, a line of rocks. A lot of times in the Middle East, they will have fields. And the fields will have borders on them. And how did they build the borders? They went out there and they picked up rocks out of the field and place them, and they'd make terraces out of them, and they'll have a fence made out of rocks. And that fence is called a davar. Okay? And if you line up soldiers in a row, that's called a davar. All right? Now, all of these words, if you put sentences together and words together, it's called a davarim. All right? That's what we call it here, a davarim. That's related. Okay? Now, in Greek, in John 1:1, it says, in arche ein ho logos. In beginning kept on being the logos, which is what? Davar. In John 1:1, that is what you call a Hebraism. It is not a Greek idea, but it's a Hebraism. John is Hebrew, isn't he? All right? He's probably Jesus' cousin. And he's Hebrew, and he has a Hebrew mind. The book of Revelation is written with so much Hebrew in it that many of the, what they call the Greek scholars said the book of Revelation could not possibly be inspired. It had too many grammatical mistakes in it. But the grammatical mistakes were actually Hebraisms. The book of Revelation is written in Greek, but it is written with Hebrew grammar all over the place. But all of John's writings have a lot of Hebraisms in them. Now, logos comes from a verb, which is lego. And what does lego mean, Sister Cindy? I pick on you an awful lot because you're so cotton picking smart. That's why. It means I speak. But what does it literally mean, Sharon? You remember? I'm going to draw a little illustration for you. This is a bird. That's bird legs. Well, just like that. Boy, did you see how fast I did that? That's a bird. Now he's out. This bird is out in the yard picking up sand or gravel, because he has to have sand and gravel to eat. That's his teeth. And also he's picking up food. He gets him a little worm here, he gets him a little seed here, and a little grass blade here, whatever he's eating, he's eating. He's picking things up. That word lego means I pick. I pick. This is where we get the word election from, this word also. I pick out. Okay? And then when it goes to the noun, it's logos. That which has been picked out. Or the word. When you relate in Greek to another person, you lego, you pick out words in your memory and you put them in a line. Same thing as the Hebrew davarim. All right? And so you put all of these words in a line to communicate your ideas from your person to that person. From this person to that person. That's what I'm doing here tonight. I'm trying to communicate and put words in a line that you understand so you can see what I'm talking about. Logos, lego, davar, davarim are the same roots. And in the New Testament, when it comes to say, in beginning was the Word, it says, in the beginning kept on being Jehovah. Because the word's Jehovah. This Jehovah Witness business is blown up with that one verse. And then John 1:14, who can quote John 1:14, the beginning of it, in Greek? Thank you very much. Kaiho logo sarx agenito, and the Jehovah, the word flesh, he became for himself. He brought himself out of eternity into space and time in the person of Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ is God the Son, not a son of God. All right, he is God the Son. He is Jehovah in flesh. Jehovah in flesh. I thought I'd just throw that little hadavarim at you for good measures. All right? Because it means something. 29:14. Wayomer. Lo. Lavan. Ak. Atzmi. You be sorry. You be sorry? You be sorry? All right. Ata. Vayeshev. Imo. Hadesh. Yamim. All right. And he said and kept on saying to him, Laban, Ak, surely. And he kept on saying to him, Laban, surely my bone, Atzmi, my bone, my bone. In other words, you're my flesh and blood, is what he's saying. You're my own flesh and blood. You look like my family. And he was. Laban was even, related to Abraham, wasn't he? Well, they were all related. You are bone of my bone and flesh of my fleshes. Look at the word atami there, that bone, and then we have the word uvesari. What is the word for flesh? Huh? Basar. Oh, you went into Greek now, sister. All right. I want you to be linguists. I will never reach the point where my great-great-grandfather was. He spoke 17 languages fluently. He could get up and speak to any Indian tribe from Oklahoma to the East Coast in their own languages. And they couldn't even tell that it was not one of them speaking. Plus Latin and Greek and English and Spanish. That's a lot of languages.
Well, with Spanish, you only have to know half the words.
Yeah.
Because every time you don't know a word, you just put an English word in there.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the way they talk, isn't it? Yeah. Mhm. How do you say television in Hebrew? Anybody know? Television. Television. How do you say it in Spanish? Television. How do you say it in Italian? Television. How about telephone? Same word. That came from one language. Telephone, television, all of that kind of stuff. Fax, all of this comes from the modern languages, so it goes into all the other languages. Flesh of my flesh and bone of my bone, and he dwelled. He pitched his tent. And he dwelled, third person masculine singular, cal, well, consecutive and perfect, and he kept on dwelling with him Hadesh, month of days. Month of days. Yamim, month of time. In other words, a whole full month. When the moon cycle, this is what we call a lunar month. Okay, the lunar month. He dwelt with him until the moon was full and waned and became full again. Waning and waxing moon. All right, what's a waning moon? The one that's going away. What's a waxing moon? The one that's getting bigger. Okay, the waning and the waxing moon. Wayomer. Lavan. Li Yaakov. Haki. Aki. Ata. Why avad tani? Hinam hag geda li ma mas ka ro maskar tika. All right. And he kept on saying, Laban to Jacob, that. All right. That my brother, you and should have served me for nothing. You say to me, ma, say that, ma, what? See that, ma is what? What? Your wages. Mas kar tika. All right, Cindy, what's the word wages in Greek? What's the word wages? Huh? You don't know what it is? All right. Okay, we'll look it up later. Mistos. Wages. Mistos. All right. Mistos. Write mistos down there. That way you remember it. If you write these words that go from language to language, mistos, that means earned wages. Your mistos. Wages. Mistos. All right. Genesis 29:16. Genesis 29:16. Now we're going to find two girls here. We got to finish this because this is too exciting. Too exciting. All right. Ulaban, Shiti, Vanot, Shem, Hagadalah, Leah, Wisham, Hagatana, Rachel. All right, now let's look at these names. And to Laban, Whitey, 2 daughters. Now, Laban probably had white hair, or else he was very lightly complected, one or the other. So much that they called him that. They called him that. The Hebrew, when you named the child, the name was very important. If you go look, remember when I preached over there at Fairfax and I preached on the 10 inspired names? Were you there at that time that I preached on the 10 inspired names? The first 10 names in the Bible and what they meant? They meant the whole history of salvation. The whole history of salvation. Names mean a lot. And his name, he was either light complected or whatever. My great-great-great-grandfather saved my uncle's life, J. Pawnee, and they gave him a name of Icamelio. J. Pawnee named him Icamelio, which meant fearless. Smith Paul's name was fearless among the Chickasaw people, and he became a chief of the Chickasaw Nation. They adopted him in, and his name was Fearless. Fearless. That was his name, and they called him Icamelio all of his life. My great-great-grandfather Samuel Eichard is the name Fearless over what we call anglicized. Samuel Icamelio or Eichard Paul. And to Laban, Whitey, 2 daughters. Beth, 2 daughters. The note. Name, the older, Haggedah, the older, Leah. Now, I'm going to introduce something completely different to you about this name than you've probably ever heard before. Okay? Get ready. Put your thinking hats on. Got your thinking caps on? All right. The word Leah, in most of the lexicons, when you look at it slightly, it means weak. It means impatient. It means nervous or weary. Okay? It means tender. It means seductive. It means passionate. It means delicate. It means adorable. It means dreamy. It means soft. That's all of those words with her name Leah. Now let's try to figure out what Leah means here with all the context. Leah. What? I got to turn this old machine over. With all the context involved here, now let's look at Leah and her name. In the Middle East, what is the most desirable woman over there among those Arab people? What is the most desirable woman? What is the most desirable?
Submissive.
What?
Submissive.
No. The most desirable in looks. What? Their eyes, the blue eyes. Leah probably had blue eyes, and they call those weak eyes. They used to call blue eyes weak eyes. But if you see a person that is dark complected with blue eyes, like your grandma, like Sam Paul. Smith Paul was a full-blood Scotsman, as far as we know. And he married Elatika, which is our great-great-great-grandmother. That, by the way, that little girl over there, that's a Paul. That's my cousin. Our great-grandmother was dark-complected, but she had steel gray blue eyes. And all her children did too, didn't they, Doris? Every one of them. All from Smith Paul and Sam Paul. Dark-complected with these steel gray eyes. And I mean, your father was very dark. Very dark. And he had these steel gray eyes. And that's very attractive. It's very attractive in a woman or a man, either one. And over there, if a woman's got blue eyes and she's dark complected, and guess what? What part of the woman you see? They're veiled. Their eyes. She would wipe them out right when they saw her. They make her, a look at her face, her eyes would make them weak. They would just fall for her when they saw her eyes. So Leah's got beautiful eyes. Okay, she's got beautiful eyes. Eyes that with one glass will make a man weak. Okay, they are weary or weak. Now let's look at the rest of the story. And name the younger Haggatana Rachel. All right, now let's look at Rachel. Rachel means what? Little ewe lamb. She's a beautiful little ewe lamb. All right. By the way, for hundreds of years, the Arab and the Jewish people, if they saw a woman that was skinny, they thought she was sickly. They wanted to see a woman with meat on her bones. All right, they liked a woman with meat on her bones. They didn't want a skinny woman because that was a sign of sickliness. And the Arabs, when those Muslims over there, basically, you see them here in America. They hollered for years about the Mormons having more than one wife. But have you ever looked at all the mosques we got around Bakersfield, and then you see these East Indians walking around, and they got 3 or 4 women following them, all about the same age. That's their wives. Okay, they have up to 5 wives supposedly. They don't say anything about it, and they don't do anything about this at all here. You never hear anything about it. And the Arabs, the same thing. They got all these wives, usually sisters. Okay, but a wife, if they had a wife that they really loved, they poured the chocolate to her and the food to her, and she grew. They liked them big. Okay, this was back up until the early 1900s. They were like this. If you watch some of the old National Geographic movies and books and stuff, you'll see them every now and then saying they like their women voluminous, big. All right, they liked them heavy. They were healthy. They weren't skinny little things. Rachel was probably a small woman, okay, because she was a small ewe lamb. That's the name. Leah was probably larger, and she had the beautiful blue-gray eyes, or the blue eyes that just captivated men. And then it says, we and they, 29:17, we and they, Leah, Ra-koth, we Rachel, Hayatah, Yefeh, Tor, Wifat, Mare. And the eyes of Leah were beautiful, delicate, adorable, enchanting, absolutely passionate, dreamy. That's what it's saying about her. Now, how many times have you... Did it say anything like that in your translation?
Yeah, it does.
No?
Because when Leah's eyes were weak, Rachel's was beautiful, warm and pretty.
Okay, what it means here is that Leah's eyes were beautiful. They were beautiful and dreamy. But that's all she had, these beautiful eyes. All right? But Rachel, now her eyes were desirable, beautiful, enchanting, passionate, adorable, dreamy, soft, delicate. But Rachel, she had become beautiful in form and beautiful in appearance in every way. So here we have one woman that has beautiful eyes. Okay? I remember at Buck Owens' funeral here. Buck Owens, remember how many of you come over here to Buck Owens' funeral? Buck was a member of the church here, and when he died, we had his funeral here. And Trace Atkins got up and sang. Remember that? Some of you may have seen that or whatever. Sharon, do you remember that? Yeah. Trace Atkins got up there, and Buck Owens used to tease Trace Atkins. And Buck was a character. I mean, I was raised with him all my life. I worked on all his guitars, when he was on the Buck Owens Ranch and on the Hee Haw. I did all of those guitars on both of those shows, and all of his personal guitars and everything. And he was my stepfather's. His wife was. He was their uncle. Anyway, Trace Atkins was up and speaking. He was talking about Buck. He said, "Well, Buck." He said Buck was pretty straightforward about everything he said, and he was. He would say some funny things, hard things sometimes. And he told old Trace that, he said, "Boy, when you get up there, every time you sing, hit that low note, because that's all you got." That's all you got. Hit that low note, because that's all you got. Hit it every time. Well, Leah, she had beautiful eyes. But evidently, that's all she had. Beautiful eyes. Rachel is beautiful. She got beautiful eyes. Maybe she had beautiful blue eyes, too. I don't know. But she was beautiful in form and everything else. Maybe she was heavy duty. I don't know. Maybe that's what was so beautiful about her in form and everything. But it says that but Rachel, she had become beautiful in form and beautiful in appearance. In every way you looked at her, she was beautiful. All right? She was beautiful. Yes.
Since Rachel was the sheep herder, wouldn't she leave home? You know, and how often were women sheep herders in those days? A lot.
Well, the women did all the work.
All she told me.
All the menial labor the women did. They did all the work. Okay.
What about once they got married?
They did all the work. They had it figured out back in those days, you know. I mean, here in America, this is a different story over here, but back over yonder, the women still do all the work. I'm telling you, the women still do all the work
Why would you want
in the home.
Why would you want your wife fat when she can't do as much work?
Well, I'm just telling
you.
you,
Fat so she doesn't run away, and nobody else wants her.
they thought that fat was beautiful. They thought it was beautiful, and the woman that they loved the most, they would feed her the most. Okay, that's the way it is. Now, evidently, after Jacob married her, maybe she was still a shepherdess also, but we find out that Jacob was the biggest shepherd of all, because he was the wage earner in that home. He did all the cowboying, and by the way, he didn't live with his wives. He lived out with the sheep. He would go home to the wives. But he was out in the shepherds. Jacob was out. He was a go-getter. All right? And he would go home to his wives. And, of course, they were doing all the work in the home. The women did all the work. Of course, Jacob and Leah had maids also. And he got the maids. Of course, we're jumping ahead a little bit. Any other questions? I like your questions.
Well, I have another question.
Yes.
When he picked up Rachel and was kissing her, wasn't that inappropriate once you realized you loved her right away? I thought you weren't supposed to kiss until you got married.
That's Americanism. All right, that's Americanism. They kiss each other. The men kiss each other over there. Now, remember what Laban did to Jacob? He kissed and kept on kissing him. All right? In America, we're different. If you go to France or Italy, when you meet a man, what do you do to him? You kiss him on both sides of his cheek. That's what they do over there. They don't shake your hand. They kiss you. That's what they do. And that's what we call the Mediterranean intellect. My wife, that woman right over there, you know, that beautiful girl sitting over at the table. About 13 years ago when we first got married, we've been married about a year or something. Anyway, my friend, which is Greek, his name Phodios Kyriakopoulos, he came up with another Greek friend of his, and I had written a gift basket for him there, and I wrote in Greek, and the guy said, "That's wrong." He said, Phodios said, "That's not wrong, you're wrong." He said, "He knows Greek. You think you do." He really knows Greek. He said, "That's the way you write it in Old Greek, not modern Greek." You know. Anyway, he goes over there and they're talking. And Marilyn is cooking and cooks a Sicilian roast and all this kind of stuff, you know, and she has a beautiful salad and everything, and she's serving us at the table. Phodios over there speaking to me in Koine Greek, and this guy doesn't know what we're talking about. He asked me, he said, "She's Mediterranean." And he'll say something to the guy. He said, "She's Mediterranean." He said, "What is she?" "She's Mediterranean." Like this. I said, "She's Danish." He said, "No, she's not Danish." He said, "She's Mediterranean." She's Mediterranean. Anyway, she was going along like, you know, cooking and everything else, and he just kept saying she's Mediterranean. I said, "Oh no," I said, "She's half Danish and half somebody from Missouri." Whatever they are. State of misery. Anyway, stubborn as all get out. Yeah. Show me states, you know. Well, anyway, Marilyn did her DNA. What are you, Marilyn? She's Mediterranean. She's Mediterranean. That's exactly. She's about a quarter Greek. Yeah, she's about a quarter Greek. And an Italian and French. And about an eighth Danish. More German and Russian than she is Danish. Very little Danish. But her father was supposed to be in full-blood Dane. But his mother evidently was Greek. And that's where she got her looks. Was from that. And he said, "She is Mediterranean." All right. Mediterranean. Where are we?
Either 17 or
17 or 18? Oh, yeah. We're finished with number 17. Now we go over to 18 and we'll finish right there. Is that enough for today? I'll turn you loose on the world. Wayesh, Wayehav, Yaakov, Et, Rachel, Wayomer, Ebadika, Shiva, Shanim, Be Rachel, Beltika, Hakatana. And he kept on loving Jacob, Rachel. See that word sign with the direct object there, that et? That means there's force going that direction. And in Greek, what is the equivalent, Cindy? Ace. Ace in Greek and et in Hebrew. All right? Ace and et. Extension and limitation in Greek, the grammatical rules, extension and limitation of thought or verbal action. In other words, there's power going that way. With great power, with great force, Jacob loved Rachel. And he said, and he kept on saying over and over again, I shall keep on serving you. Shiva, that's 7. Shanim, years. For Rachel. On the front of Rachel there is Beth Rachel. Beth, on the front of that means for or to or in. All right? Beth. Viltika, daughter, the younger. All right. Daughter, the younger. And we'll start at 29:19 next week. All right? 29:19. Now, see, this Hebrew isn't too hard, is it? It's not overwhelming or anything. You get a lot of it? Okay. We'll start right there, and today is 7-1, isn't it? 7-1-12. So we went 29, where do we start? 29-9? 29-9 through 19. We got 10 verses tonight. That's pretty good. 10 verses.
You gotta keep going if you're gonna finish by the end of the summer, though.
Well, I'm trying to finish before I croak. I got another book here to do. 2 more books. We're going to try to get it to chapter 50, through chapter 50, if I can live that long. I'm about to finish book number 4. There's 4 volumes of Hebrew that I've done. Well, so far. And there's 5 volumes altogether to go through chapter 50. And I'm going to try to get all of it done, the Lord willing. And the creek don't rise. All right. Let's go out and do something eternal. Do you have any other thing before I'm going to turn you loose? Brother Roger, it's good to have you back here. You've been gone. We missed you a lot. Would you dismiss us in prayer, brother?
Father, thank you for all the blessings that you bestow on us. Guide us and direct us in how we apply those blessings in our lives. Guide us and direct us as we tell others about you. Thank you for bringing us here tonight to hear your word, and go with us as we leave here. Amen.
Amen.